call this meeting to order. It's July 15th, 2025, 9 a.m., and we're here to discuss the Sheriff's Office pay scale. Now, one of the things I want to note to you guys that we don't have any information at all on the budget or where we're at with income or anything from the clerk yet. That doesn't happen until August.
Yep. No, we're aware of that. Today we're just kind of bringing some things about our budget that we want to, not our budget, but our pay scale that we want to change.
Okay.
That some of the ranks and stuff that weren't fleshed out and I'll give you guys this to we'll just kind of go through the things that we're looking at.
Okay.
Changing about it and roughly what it would cost to change it. They're not crazy, but.
Okay.
Do you want one, Damien?
Sure.
There you go. So, some of the things we're looking at doing. The first thing on the list here, if you go through, the first couple pages are just some of the changes we were looking at making to the matrix, and then the third page is some of the changes I'm proposing to the matrix in the red. And then you'll see at the bottom there it says civilian positions, which were never on our matrix. And we'll get to how I want to change that, but they're there. So that page is the changes.
Okay.
The fourth page is the current matrix. So I'll kind of cover the changes we want to make, and then Captain Green will cover how we can afford them in our current budget.
Okay.
So the first thing I have on there is moving the patrol detention captains and 911 director back to the hourly wage. And also, which I know you said there's not a lot of money, but a slight increase to the captain wage. Mm-hmm. To just the two captains, because getting into it later, the lieutenant ranks, the pay at the end of those would be more than what at the end of your longevity would be more than what the captains are making. With all the ranks and everything you try to get into that matrix, it packs everything together as far as pay. You know what I mean? So there's not a lot of room. So just a slight adjustment to the captain wages, just to bring them up. And you can see the cost of that would be about $5,800. As far as moving them to an hourly wage, the reason we want to do that is one of the things I have in here in the past is they were always on hourly. Mm-hmm. Sheriff Gunderson was the one who moved all admin staff to salary, and I don't know really what his reasoning was for that, other than just having control of what you're working. I don't know, but I wasn't here for those meetings when he did it, or why he did it.
I think, as a business sense, you want to keep your admin at a salary in case you need to bring him in, because that's a high paying job, and then if you have to pay overtime on that and they come in, then that's a big expense to a company. That's why you do that.
Yeah, it could be, but
and my question is,
you're doing that to the detriment of the employee.
Well, sometimes that
you're taking advantage of the employee, and especially with what
all companies do that.
I know. I understand that, but it's not working for what we're doing. Literally, we have a captain that's working shifts in the jail. And so he's pulling 50 hours a week plus, and who knows how long. And you're just saying, well, I'm sorry, you're making less hourly than the other employees because.
Well, the sheriff would be doing the same thing, and you'd be doing the same thing, correct?
What's that?
You guys are salary, and if you come in, you'd be working. I mean, that's
historically they've always been salary.
High up like that. They've
always
the
been
way
salary.
it goes. Mm-hmm.
the sheriff and undersheriff,
Mm-hmm.
but never our captains. And
Okay. I was just throwing that out. That's just your
Yeah.
guys' show, so.
yeah,
So typically in most agencies, the gap between captain the next rank or lieutenant the next rank, there's a lot which we'll bring in during budget season of like these other agencies who have a bigger gap there to make up for that. Right now here, it sets it up to where individuals will make less hourly than like sergeants. So it's actually multiple ranks down. So it actually behooves you actually to take demotions with our current setup.
yeah. You have sergeants with their ability to work the grants and that kind of stuff. You'll have sergeants and stuff making as much money or more than, which I saw when I was the captain a lot. The sergeant, I'd be like, show me your check, and he literally would be making more money than me, taking home more. And so you may or might not care about that, but I know it affects the employees who are doing the job.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, for Captain Green, it'd give him that ability to work the grant hours and get reimbursed for overtime. We would definitely try to manage the overtime and keep it at a minimum and kind of do it like we have, but I think hourly is more fair to the employee.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it's with giving him the ability to work, it's the actual hours of work you're getting reimbursed for. It's not, oh, this week you worked 60 hours, and so you don't get anything for that. And the week with the shooter on Canfield, I mean, he put in, I don't even know how many hours he put in that week. Probably like 70. And I know it could hurt the budget a little bit, but I think we can afford it. And we could just manage his hours the following week if it comes to that. But it would give him that ability to work those grants, get a little extra, and not have those sergeants and everything working those grants and everything, making more money than he is. And then you got Captain Lopez, who's working in the jail, working 12-hour shifts in the jail,
Mm-hmm.
and not being compensated for that.
Okay.
So these costs I have up here, that's roughly $5,800 for those two guys.
Okay.
Was about what it would cost.
That's an increase
Yep.
per year.
Yeah, and I have it like written out on this sheet right here
Okay.
where, yeah,
Right
kind
here.
of broke down. Yep. Then the next thing I got on there is the lieutenant position. So the lieutenant position was on the old matrix, but it was never fleshed out with the pay. So we've had Lieutenant Beliski on in the getting pay scale that I don't know if it was approved in the past or not, but and I forgot to highlight that one red, but if you look at the lieutenant it's up there in the patrol line.
Yep, top.
Yeah, that one here, but it's not on. This is the old one and this is the new one.
Yep.
So the lieutenant, yeah, you didn't have. Okay.
Yeah, he didn't flesh it out, and all I tried to do was flesh out that lieutenant pay. So the reasons. So we've already have a lieutenant in patrol. We don't have one in the jail, but Gunderson wasn't a big proponent of having the lieutenant position when he did it, but he kept it on there because historically we always had a lieutenant rank available. And some of the things we've used lieutenant rank for in the past was maybe a guy who you're thinking about potentially being a captain one day or running it, you'd start him at that lieutenant rank and just kind of work them up. One of the mistakes we've always made in the past is not training future leaders, getting people prepared to do that job. If Seth decided, tomorrow I'm leaving, and which happens over there quite frequently. You just, all of a sudden, they're like, oh, I'm leaving in a month, and who do you have to replace me? And you'll go, that gap of rank between sergeant to captain, it's a huge responsibility jump, and a lot of guys don't want to do it. That lieutenant position gives you that ability to have someone who's kind of taking some of that load from the captain, doing some of the work, and also being trained for the future. If that captain position comes open, he can take it. And if you don't have that lieutenant position, you're not preparing anybody to do that. And what happens is you end up throwing someone into that position who has no clue what they're doing. And it's a huge learning curve and opens up a lot of liability when you put someone clear up from a sergeant to a captain. So we already have someone in a position as lieutenant in Bolesky, but I don't see anywhere where that pay was ever approved. I don't know. But he's in that pay line. The jail's the same thing. It's for a lieutenant position. It's more like, for the jail, it's more like an option of, we just want to add that into there. We don't have anybody I would consider even for a lieutenant in the jail right now, but in the future we could. So it'd just be to have that in there, added in there. Like, we're a few years out from ever having a lieutenant in the jail probably, but our sergeant only has like 2 years in the jail right now.
So is the lieutenant considered an admin?
It's like a multi-role admin to, they're still pulling some of the work too in patrol, but they're kind of like the liaison to your sergeant. They're taking some time to help the captain. They kind of do it all, you know. They'll help the captain with tasks he gives them. They're learning to be that role if need be, learning some of the admin world, but they don't necessarily handle all the, they'll just get some of it, like the employee issues and that kind of stuff. And then they're working with the sergeants, like Bolesky does, like he does the FTO coordination.
Now he does. Yeah, it kind of, with this type of program with a smaller agency, so we have backcountry team, detective unit, search and rescue, patrol, traffic team, Wallace position, SRO, drug task force, the federal cases, the civil services, the court security, and now we assist in the jail heavily. So, like, if we're breaking that down to attempted 40 hours a week, because that's what we're trying to do, even for him, and that was, there's no way to get all that done. Plus, then you're in charge of all the background stuff to include all regulations coming out, which is expanded tenfold since the George Floyd situation. And so all the background, the education, the trainings, frankly, it's tenfold from that, the vehicle procurements and so on. So it's not even doable. Usually you actually have 4 to 5 people doing those jobs, but with the lieutenant there, he spends 2 days a week on patrol to do quality control as well, because I only have time to spot check a video once in a while and say, all right, here's a video, here's some prompts, think about these things, right? He is my quality control for the sergeants as well, because the sergeants are also tasking these out to individual teams. So you want that one step in between to be a foot in both worlds. For, as he said, the stepping stone up when that time comes, but also to maintain quality control on the road. Whereas and get ready for that liability piece, because at the moment, typically in every organization, all that liability falls on the captain. To where, let's say we didn't have a lieutenant position, I would have to step back from a lot of these other things to make sure the quality control is occurring. I still do that. I'll do the IAs, the internal investigations as well, like the Galloway one I presented. That's typically a captain's job. But yeah, it's that in-between stepping stone to help manage all these different tasks.
Okay.
Okay. And then the next thing in there was that corporal rank.
Was that a new one?
Yep. So, again, in the past, we had corporals in the jail and in patrol. A lot of times, the ranking structure has changed so much at that office over the years. It started out when I first got there, they didn't even have captains, and it was just like the title. You know, you were a lieutenant, but you were doing the captain's job. And they would give you a corporal position just as a pay raise, so that you would get a pay raise even though you weren't doing any supervisory work. And what we want to do is, again, we're trying to build the future leaders and improve, trying to get these people a little incentive to learn how to manage some of these issues and to supervise people. So we're trying to kind of create that stepping stone ground for supervision. Because again, what happens is you have someone who has been there maybe 3 years or so, and they're like, I'm interested in learning supervision. Well, then you have a sergeant who quits or leaves, or maybe they go up in a rank. You don't know what could happen. And you're just taking a guy with no training yet at all or anything and saying, okay, now you're a sergeant. You're in charge of a whole crew of guys and managing a whole, I think each sergeant has like 6 guys under their command that they're rotating with, and they're actually out there working with them. So that corporal gives us the position to incentivize learning those leadership positions, give them a tiny bit of pay for it. It's like 60 cents or so, I can't remember. It's not much. It's $1. If you're at a basic level. If you're at intermediate or advanced, it's less. But
And with that, when we were looking at this, currently, like we've come to you guys before, this group and governing body, I would say we were trying to find something that is the cheapest fix, or at least patch to a problem we've had. And that's where, if you look at the overall like liabilities of us, that's where we focus first to the current situation. And I don't know of any agency our size who operates with zero supervision. So, like, for example, at least half the time on the road, or about half the time on the road, there's really very little to zero supervision out there, because realistically we need 4 sergeants, but that's way more expensive because we work 24/7. So instead you have a sergeant on call who's not on call, so even if they don't pick up their phones or whatever, we really can't even do anything. And is it reasonable to say they're going to hear it at 2 a.m., at 3 a.m., or 4 a.m., or whatever shift they're not working? Mm-hmm. And it's just not. So adding 4 sergeants would cost an exorbitant amount of money, where adding 3 corporal positions is actually not very expensive at all.
Okay.
So it helps with that liability side for supervision, is my biggest concern when it comes to corporals and LT.
Now on these positions, from lieutenant, sergeant to captain, what type of classes do they have to have? Are there certifications they have to have, and do they go through? Do you guys? Is that how you are?
Yes. Okay. So A, there's going to be a training program between the sergeant and the corporal themselves. B, every last corporal will go to supervisory classes and then do additional courses with myself and lieutenant, to where this is a little bit different, which I explained to the guys already. Not that we're getting them because you guys haven't approved that yet, but if we did, what it would look like, for that reason of, like, I don't expect, in most agencies, corporals actually have far less power. It's very much just you're there, you observe the sergeant, they kind of take you under their wing a little bit, but you really have very little supervisory powers. Here they're going to have a lot of supervisory power because of the situation. So as soon as the sergeant's comfortable, they're making those calls out there, because right now we have no one doing it. Okay.
Yeah, it's just adding that additional layer of supervision for those after hours calls, inmate complaints, use of force, doing warrants, high risk transports, all kinds of stuff. That there's constantly decisions being made that people who aren't really trained how to make those calls are trying to make them themselves, and then trying to get a hold of the supervisor at night. And the corporals will allow that sergeant takes vacation or whatever. I mean, there are times the lieutenant will also. That's why we have having the layers works best. If you have people who are gone for training or whatever, the lieutenant can step down and fill the role of the sergeant if need be, or if you have a corporal can come up and fill that role. And you have all these people that are prepared to step into those roles and fill them, but when those roles aren't filled, that's when bad things can happen and bad decisions can get made. So.
Okay.
The corporal thing was kind of a two-part thing on there. It was I did kind of base off the jail and patrol on that sheet, but corporal in the jail, we currently have one sergeant, so we're allotted for 2 sergeants and a captain is all we have in the jail. So there's no lieutenant position, there's no corporals. We're thinking more of using just adding a corporal position as a training point for that person who potentially could be a sergeant one day or vice versa. So and then that lieutenant as an option, but we would never have in the jail, never more than 4 people who would be in some type of supervisory role. So there's just not as many staff or moving parts in the, so.
So right now,
In the jail, it's more like giving us options of,
okay.
because I have people like in the jail who potentially they could be a good sergeant one day, but they're not quite there yet. You don't want to give them, that sergeant is taking on a role more of like interacting with the staff and stuff, correcting behavior. The sergeant's taking more of that role, whereas a corporal won't necessarily handle that realm as much with the employees. They might say, hey, make sure you do this or this, but they're not going to get into that cutting paperwork and that kind of stuff on employees. And the other thing we were trying to do was just, for some reason, I don't know why they never added a detective onto the pay matrix. So we've just been paying our detective in the sergeant pay scale. And we just want to actually write the word sergeant/detective in there.
Okay, I see it.
Yeah, I just forgot how that read. So we just want to actually have it on the scale that's where our detectives, I don't want like any question, what are you paying your detective? And that's what happened in the past with the old pay scale. When we had the old one, it was never set. This is where in the matrix the detective, what grade the detectives or whatever get paid. So it was every sheriff would just pick a different line, and so you had all these people making randomly different amounts. Yeah, because it just never said this is where you're at. So we wanted to make sure they were just added in there.
Okay.
That's no cost because it's already budgeted for that much, and just want to make that change to it.
And that's already budgeted.
Yeah.
In this budget or last budget?
In the one we're working in now.
Working on it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. detectives for like the last 3 years or so have been in that sergeant pay
Okay.
scale, but it just never was put on there.
Okay. Now the captains, you were going to make an hourly rate, right?
Yep.
So why haven't it's gone out to 2 years, 5
So
years,
this-
and 6 years?
Yeah, we were just
kinda
just
looking
gonna keep the captains like this is literally what your rate is. There's no longevity or anything in the captain rate. It's just
Okay.
this is, and right here I just highlighted this is what they currently are making yearly. That's what they would be making yearly.
Okay.
Yeah, you have that one, and then you have the captain down there.
Okay.
And then the only other thing we had was the moving the civilian staff to the courthouse pay matrix.
Okay.
And so I put it on there down below. And the main reason we're doing that is just the consistency in pay between the jobs and trying to eliminate we literally have a massive old pay matrix for 7 employees right now over there that we want to get rid of, and just we want to keep our employees on the what everybody else is getting here that's civilian staff. So if you're cleaning and you're over there, or you're cleaning here, you're making the same amount. If you're a maintenance guy here or there, you're making the same amount.
Okay.
So I worked with Timmy on that one to make sure everybody got into the right grade on the old pay matrix. And they're actually doing their budget based off of these employees being in there, the new budget they're working on.
Okay.
We're just anticipating that would probably go through, and it is a little bit of an added expense because the pay matrix over here pays more than the old pay matrix. So I think I broke it down, and it's about, with the employees we have, it's $10,768. Probably a little bit more with benefits. That's one thing. So there's probably another couple thousand into that with benefits.
And that was without benefits.
Yep. Yeah, because there's 5, 6, there's about 8 civilian positions or so with the cooks, the cleaning, maintenance. Got our civil driver's license, admin clerk, and records evidence.
Okay.
You got any questions about that one, or?
Nope. No.
Okay.
No.
Seth will kind of go over how we come about covering some of this stuff.
Yeah, so there's a few options we can look at this for. I know back in December, when me and you talked after one of the meetings, particularly with the front office staff, the goal would be to get the front office staff and our other civilian employees to be paid the same as over here. So when those raises took place, our civilian staff actually started getting paid less than over here. So that would correct that one. It's roughly $12,000 in costs with benefits. We would ask that be injected into our budget to, as far as an addition to pay for those.
Like, what do you mean injected?
Because at the moment there was no room, especially with our budget going funding just with taxation. It doesn't go up, so we have no way to pay for those naturally. Would be the way to say it. That would be the ask. Now, all of this together, everything proposed today costs roughly $26,000. There's a couple options we could do. The other thing you recommended recently in a meeting was to get to like 27 an hour or whatever, but it'd be cutting positions would be an option, right? Which we're going to discuss with the sheriff of how to do that in the future if that's possible.
No, when do we talk about cutting positions?
Yeah, it was a suggestion
Oh, okay.
you had made to be able to pay them
Okay.
an increase.
Okay.
Yes, it was in
Yeah.
it was in one of our recent
Okay.
meetings.
Yeah.
To where the other way to pay for this initial $26,000, which we'd asked 12 come from new funding, but we would try to figure out how to do the rest of that cost ourselves out of different positions and cuts maybe we can make to positions, because we are running into a crisis as far as obviously the jail and patrol as well, to where we're just not getting employees anymore. So we have to figure out how to fix it, and we're going to put our best foot forward as well. So those are kind of, or also take it out of the, obviously you guys are considering a 3% COLA, to where $26,000 of the 3% COLA we would figure out how to cover. It'd be those three options. So kind of today we're looking for the blessing to go ahead to figure that out. If we can keep this thing within the current budget we have, because in July of last year, the auditor said we had $747,000 in cash for the Justice Fund. Then we were an additional $200,000 to $400,000 under budget last year. So $26,000 is a very small amount to work into those savings we've had.
Yeah, I don't understand that, with that's one of the our audit is going to be done this week, I think, the end of this week, so we'll know where we're at. But on the other hand I don't think his comment that he made was for that year. He only, say like this year, he's not auditing what's happening right now.
Correct. It was the year prior.
He's auditing last year's, so he doesn't know he doesn't know what this year we're doing at all. All he knows was last year as the year before. So he doesn't,
Correct, but as long as the clerk's office followed the direction of the sitting members of the BOCC, because you guys are obviously the governing board of them as well, and us, as long as the clerk's office followed suit and funded us exactly how you guys voted, then that money would then, the addition would be how much we were under last year. Okay. So based off that audit combined with us being $200,000 to $400,000 last year under, which has been agreed upon by the clerks, we were under what we were budgeted for. That would have added to it. So we actually have, we would be sitting at roughly $1 million. So 26,000 would be a drop in the bucket, frankly, of that.
I don't think I'm understanding that. Yeah, I don't. We'll talk about that later. But that's one of the things that I think that was taken out of context. I think the auditor can come in and he will be here to do an exit audit, and you can ask him that question. So okay, what else we got?
So as far as funding, those are the options we could do to put forward to you guys. Okay. And then we're gonna hit the ground running. Well, we already are daily as far as the rest of it goes.
Okay.
Give you a lot to chew on at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to think about this.
Yeah.
Think about this and review it, and then also review it with the clerk's office. Make sure they're in it. And I don't know where we're at right now with their budget.
Yeah, I think the only one I would ask maybe to proceed forward with today is those civilian positions.
The civilian positions, okay.
So that because they're already budgeting it that way, working that in the budget already.
Okay.
Okay, we'll talk to them about that right away.
So we can just get another meeting on the agenda for next week to kind of go from here. That works for you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of this stuff that we're asking for, some of it has come about because we've been struggling a little bit with employees who are thinking about leaving, and some of this is stuff they asked that would kind of help overall with the teams. And so we did this Seth completed this big survey with all the patrol team and all that, and that, like those corporal positions and stuff, those were things that were, really asked for.
That's a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
With if you're using it to reduce sergeants and things like that, I think that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
More supervision.
Yep. And you're just training those future leaders to be ready to step into those roles, and
Mm-hmm.
without that corporal position, you don't really have that ability. And the thing is, they're not like they used to be. Well, they'll do things for free. They're not going to do more for free. I did that a long time ago, and I took corporal without pay, and took a lot of leadership stuff without pay. And people aren't willing to do that anymore.
I understand that.
Yeah.
They're
As a boss.
just getting them to work is
And
the hard part.
It's even if you give them 50 cents or something, so they know they're getting
Mm-hmm.
something, then they're more willing to do it. But I don't know, it's just a different world right now. So.
I understand. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Public comment?
So the sheriff's approved this.
Yeah, this is stuff I went over with the sheriff before I ever came here. Yep.
Several people, we only got one person that I think doesn't work 20 hours.
What's that?
For benefits, you said you had to add benefits in to somebody.
Yeah, there's one.
That doesn't work to 20 hours.
Yeah, the cleaning.
So they'll move up to 20 hours.
So the way we've been doing it right now, we have a cleaning gal who's been cooking as well. So she's technically working 40
Okay.
hours a week anyways. They've been doing both jobs.
Okay.
That's how we've been doing it. And right now we just brought in a new cleaning person, and they're trying to learn as much as they can with the cooking side, because it's a little more technical, a little more of a learning curve, not crazy. So we have someone else cleaning right now that's only not getting benefits though, just doing like 16 hours a week cleaning. So I know.
And this might not affect you because I don't know what their decision's going to be on 20 hours a week for benefits. That's all in the budget process.
Yeah.
Most guys aren't 20.
Yeah.
One of the few that provide benefits at 20 hours.
Yep.
And this isn't probably going to settle anything, but I did a cash balance as of June for the sheriff's office. Your burn rate is a little over $400,000 a month, and I couldn't tell you, it's over $400,000. Anyway, your cash balance, I think, was the 1st of June, $380,000, which wouldn't have made you to July at your burn rate, and you had $60,000 in warrants. But you had taxes come in before July, so that's what the cash balance was that I requested in June.
So, and that's why you can't really go off of cash balance at all, because of the fact of you regulate the different agencies by the budget that was put forth by the commissioners. So once they voted on the clerks, as long as they fulfill that budget, you would see that cash savings. Now we'll get an influx of cash 1 month of $2 million,
Right.
another month of 400,000. So picking a month is not really.
No. That's for the whole what you had left in the justice fund in cash. 1st of June.
I'm not looking at it now, but that assertion is being made by you, and that would be asserting that the clerk's office did not follow their direction, which I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah, I'm just saying what the paper said.
Right.
I didn't make the paper up.
That's fair.
Okay. Damien?
So this proposed thing actually takes one of the matrices off the county. This actually reduces it by one.
Yeah. We eliminate a pay matrix.
That's what I thought. Because you're just jumping them to the pay matrix and start going.
Yeah, that would eliminate the old pay matrix altogether. I don't think it'd be anybody else is utilizing it. So our people were just left on it. I don't know why, but
That's all I'm trying to go.
All right. And if there's nothing further, we're adjourned. Or did you have anything? I'm
No.
sorry. Okay.
were you gonna vote on the civilian position? Can you?
We'll do that. I want to check with Lori and make sure.
Oh, on the civilians? Okay. Yep,
Yeah.
that's all good.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you guys.